Give the sister a round of applause, man. Young lady at the back, yeah?
Thank you. And please, when you first brought here, you got the list for the first time. Did you actually think it was in Jamaica?
No,
Oh.
not at all.
I thought it was in Jamaica. The way you said it was from Antigua, that shocked me.
Why?
I assumed that it was...
I don't need this, do I really? You all this. Because I've been to Antigua. Who in here has been to Antigua, but not from Antigua? Antigans sound the most like Jamaicans of any people on the island. There's little nuances in how they speak, but when I was there, I was actually recording these sisters who were kind of working in the hotel where I was there, and just the way they phrase things and the way they say it, it's almost the same. So, and not only that, look at, you know, peace be upon him, Smiley Culture was the most successful financially British MC was Bajan. I think he came from Barbados or somewhere. Those things get, and if you even look at the history of the Jamaican presence in the UK, for strength and to galvanise the communities, even people from West Africa were saying they were Jamaican in the 60s because there was this kind of fear associated with Jamaica, you know, the rude boy, the ratchet, blah, blah. So that never really surprised me because, and especially if you go to certain places in America, parts of Brooklyn or South Bronx, you don't know who is who because of how they talk. And there's a very strong Jamaican influence on them, especially for the bad word. It's easy for them to form that with the Africanness in them. Any other questions?
You said that you found more beauty within the second movie, and I know you were talking about the violence towards women, obviously hysterical. Do you not see the beauty within Jamaican dance? Because obviously, might sound patchy, but the violence that we have endured as black people anyway, coming into Jamaica, being distributed into different parts of the world, it's through the dance that we've kind of, in some ways, learned to cleanse that part of history. And I understand the kind of the barbarity of how people might see Jamaican dance, but I don't know, it's like, even though it's horrible, it's our way of kind of getting it out of our system. So do you see at all any beauty within it? I know it's very violent with the daggering and with the...
I think for me it's not even a matter of violence, because I didn't even say that it was that. And I understand when you're talking about it being cathartic, or it's like an exercising, so it's a healing process. I get that. For me, it wasn't just about the violence, it's that is what is portrayed, because even in what you're saying Jamaican dance. That is not Jamaican dance. That's an aspect of Jamaican dance. So in fact, that's an aspect of maybe African dancing, if we can use that to collapse a continent into a word. But if we say that rhythmically, and I'm not an expert on this, my sister could probably, and my sister's over there, definitely can. She can enlighten you. So rhythmically, you could see the patterns. I've done talks on that myself. I talk about that in some of the lectures I do. You know, you look at it rhythmically. But my problem is that is what is always presented. Or if we see a 95% representation of Jamaican culture, it's usually that kind of stuff, or something negative. So I'll give you a better example.
Why is that negative?
Huh?
Why is it negative?
I think it's negative because it makes people believe that that is what Jamaica is. So if you go to a dance in Jamaica, that's what you'll get. The clue is in the title, temporary insanity. Not insanity, but temporary. That means it's suspended, and it's lived in that moment. I'll give you the example. I was interviewed on TVJ in Jamaica, Jamaican Morning TV. The first time I was interviewed was in 1999, and I brought back the tape and I was playing it in a session, and people said to me, the sister who's interviewing you, what country does she come from? This is a Jamaican middle-class woman, but because their idea of what a Jamaican sounds like is, well, I'm gonna shot you, know your face, you know, boy. Because that's what they get on record. So a lot of the young people live on sound bites. So one of the things that I thought was maybe a redeeming feature of Skerritt Boy was the fact that he said separate the fantasy from the reality. Because many young people who've never been to Jamaica think that's how all Jamaicans talk, like how they introduce records, or how they are in that mode, without necessarily. So for instance, you know the slackness and culture thing. I used to do talks on Bounty Killer. Bounty Killer was Bounty Killer, shot man in them face. But he's also Babatunde, Yoruba, my father has returned. That's when he's the poor people governor. That's when he talks the conscious stuff. So within that individual, you have that dichotomy, that split. And that's why I even argued against a lot of what was written about dancehall, especially in the 80s and 90s, because people were almost saying there's slackness and there's culture. As human beings, it morphs and it merges and it blurs. Again, my problem is, why do we often only get that representation? My argument is always balance. If we had balance, then the young people would know, well, to be Jamaican, I don't have to threaten people and every other word is RC, BC, and it's not Roman Catholic and but that's what a lot of them think. And we actually, in the work that we do, and you know, Brother Tony's probably come across it, you go in sessions in classes with some of these youths, and the first thing they might tell you about your RC and your BC, and they never even been to Jamaica. They don't know what Jamaica is, but they think that's how we greet each other. So for me, it's highly problematic. That's why I point.
Just over the pop.
I can, sorry.
It's a good pot for stir.
I can see the positive, if you like, side of it in terms of creativity. But my problem is, where are the women's voices? I know in some cases women do fly over men too, but that wasn't shown in the film. But, you know, where's women's voices? Where are their agency? What are they doing?
But I think again that and this is the argument, because I got in some big dotty, except I didn't swear, argument with people at the Anthropological Society, because there was one bag of feminists, we'll call them. Yeah. You know, as an African woman, you can't be a feminist, you have to be a womanist, you know. Come to my classes, I teach you the difference. That's if you don't know. But there was one bag of them in there, and it was like, you know what my sister's saying, where's the agency, where's the this, where's the that? And I said, but what is the context of the film? It's someone's MA project. That's what it is. So we have to evaluate it in that context. It was his MA, what voice he wanted to represent, and that was it. If you take it out of that context, it's a wrong-headed argument to me. But I agree with what the sister's saying, because if you generally look at those kinds of portrayals, and because of the male dominance, and it is a very misogynist space, dancehall, always has been, probably always will be. Yeah, I've got some thoughts on that, but I can't say them in public, they're kind of grass me up. No, and I'll get shot. If I talk about the effeminization of the space, so sometimes we don't know who is who in there. Yeah. But, so I think that there is always the problems over agency, as my sister just said.
Yeah. You were talking about the fact that you think it is because of these images that people have an idea that in Jamaica everybody is like that. But right now we are in London, and I am not from Jamaica or from London, and I find that what people consider to be Jamaicans, or like I just say Geordies, in here is systematically that kind of people. Mostly the women with the bleach skin and the claw nails and the makeup and the fake hair and all that. It's extremely vulgar, and then I went to Jamaica expecting to see that, and that is not what I saw.
And got a shock.
I didn't, I can't say I was shocked, because I actually married a Jamaican who is nothing like that.
Poor thing. No, that's a joke. My parents are Jamaican.
But, so I can't say I was shocked, but I thought it was more mainstream, because for some reason that's the only trait that survives coming over across the ocean. So do you think it is also linked to the dancehall culture, or is it just a way of differentiating yourself from the mass?
Not sure if I understand. You understand?
No, what is this? What is linked?
Would you say that the reason this style is so prominent in a way, is it because of the dancer, or is it because these people are just trying to look different?
I think it's a bit of both, maybe. As you can see, it's a shocking image, but it's also vibrant and it's creative. And one could argue, I guess, that painting your nails, bleaching your skin is creative. One could argue. So I think it's a mixture of things.
I think for me on that point, you know, the bleaching of skin historically, you know, I think most of us appreciate the historical root of that. Because I've got people in my family who are, in Jamaica they would be red, lighter complexion than you, but they still use the bleaching. So, and that's why I wrote a book called Whiteness Made Simple. It's to understand that whiteness is a system. It's not necessarily about white people or skin colour. It's a psychological factor that no matter how pale you are, you still want to be paler. You know, you find that with a lot of people in Jamaica, and then you have this kind of weird kind of irony in Jamaica where the people don't want to be white, they want to be brown or red. So even that is nuance, it's different as well. So if you were asking a question in Jamaica, then we would answer it one way. But in London, again, for me, it's almost like Jamaican culture is collapsed into that, or what is it, ackee and saltfish or something. That's what you get. If you say to people Jamaica, that's what they will generally flag up. Whereas if you go to Jamaica, you have to go and find clubs where they'll allow people to do that. You have to find them. Because in regular places, regular dance halls, they can't, not with the security and the police and all that. They're not really going to do that. So, well, I don't think so, but I ain't been to them dances for a long time, so probably they do that. Yes, sir.
Should I believe they want, because if this promoted so much dancehall and reggae music or this kind of thing, is it because